not dig this, bro. But dig this.
What's up, y'all? So check it out, man. Raekwon was on JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience, and he's had the RZA on there. I think at least 2 times he's been on there, and I think maybe even Method Man might have been on there one time. But anyway, Raekwon, obviously coming from the Wu-Tang Clan, and Raekwon is one of those I mean, yeah, like I said, RZA, Old Dirty Bastard, Method Man, they're pretty much the most famous, I think, out of that crew. But Raekwon, he's in the grit with like Ghostface and Spectre Deck. Those guys are like a little more underground, you know. But anyway, it was interesting to hear what Raekwon had to say, because, yeah, man, he's an MC from that era of hip hop that, I came up in, which I think is the golden era of hip hop. And so anything that MCs or DJs or producers or anyone participating, b-boys, graffiti artists, anyone from back then, it's always interesting to hear, their take on things now, all these years later, like just kind of interested in how they're thinking, because I know where they came from, and I was down with that back in the days too. We were all underground hip hop heads, and now, 30 years into the future, are we still like that? Have people changed and moved on? And sometimes when I hear some of these artists speak, sometimes I'm like, they kind of like they lost their edge. They're not as raw as they used to be, or just because, man, you don't have to be like crazy to still like be edgy. I mean, there's ways to get there. You just have to just got to think about it. And, I mean, we're all like, at this point, we're all like in our 50s from back then. So, of course, there's a certain like demeanor that you carry with that age. But all those, attitudes, you can still express them. You just have to do it in a way that fits where you're at right now, I mean, you can also just be lazy and just, be crazy, which, I mean, I guess that's not lazy. I guess that's just unchained, uncensored, crazy old fool. I don't know, dude. But anyway, so listening to Raekwon, it was interesting, man. But dude, Joe Rogan, that dude, he's a hip hop head from back in those days too, man. That guy's not that much older than me, dude. So we're still pretty much from that same generation of hip hop. He was listening to hip hop back in the days too. Like, dude was living on the East Coast when he was in high school, so obviously he was getting all that hip hop. And plus, back then there wasn't really that much hip hop, so whatever was out there you were getting, because there wasn't that much to get, So whatever was out there, that's pretty much what was out there. Not like today where you're never going to hear all the new stuff that came out in a year's time. Never again are you going to be like that unless you're full time committed to just checking out everything that comes out, which I don't know, man. That still sounds kind of impossible. Anyway, dude, so yeah, man, Raekwon, he's like, talking about like, the Wu-Tang Clan, how they got started and all this stuff. And it's just cool to hear, like, some of the background, the backstories of some of these recording sessions. And he was talking about some of the shows they did. And yeah, super cool, man. And he still has, dude, Raekwon, actually the whole damn Wu-Tang clan, dude. Those dudes are still the same. I've heard most of those dudes in interviews, in the past year or two. And even Method Man, who's like done like films and stuff, dude, that guy's still raw, dude. All those dudes are still just raw, man. You know, uh, even though they might be removed from that lifestyle, man, they they're just that's just who they are, though. That's who they are at their core, man. It's like some of the stuff Raekwon was saying, dude. He was like, what did he say, dude? He said some word like, uh, what did he say? Conf- conflictional. And I'm like, conflictional, man. That's like some straight up street, you know, that's a street attitude, to talk about conflict and say conflictional. I'm like, dude, that's some straight up street stuff right there, dude. So, like, it's just cool to know that these dudes are still raw as hell, dude. And one of the interesting takeaways I got from Raekwon being on JRE was, well, actually, two takeaways. Uh, well, the first one actually is the same thing because, dude, Joe Rogan was asking Raekwon, hey, man, you ever heard of, Fuck a War by the Ghetto Boys? And Raekwon mentioned before he asked that he liked the Ghetto Boys. Ghetto Boys were like one of his favorite. I guess Scarface was one of his favorite MCs or rappers. And then Joe Rogan asked, "Hey, you ever heard Fuck a War by Ghetto Boys?" And then Raekwon was like, "Nah, man." And I was thinking to myself, "Damn, dude hasn't heard that?" Because that's from that album, which had my mind's playing tricks on me, which was I think their biggest hit, dude. And so that album was, and at that time when they dropped that, Ghetto Boys were big, dude. Uh, Underground, but still they were like popular, man. They were like right behind NWA, dude. And so anyway, he asked if you heard that song. He's like, "Nah, I don't think so." And then so Joe Rogan played that song, for him real quick, a clip, and they're all bobbing their head and listening to it. And Raekwon was like, "Oh man," like he's like, "Yo, I can't believe I never heard this." And I was thinking to myself, I can't believe you never heard that. And so anyway, that was kind of trip. Could you figure he says, Scarface is like, one of his most favorite MCs or rappers. So you would figure he at least heard, the first two full length Ghetto Boy albums, you know, uh, but I guess not, dude. So anyway, that's one, dude. And then Joe Rogan, he's dropping jewels on Raekwon, dude. How's that? Fucking Joe Rogan schooling Raekwon, man, in one of the most iconic hip hop crews ever, dude. And he's all, "Yo, man," he's like, "Hey, you ever heard of the Brand New Heavies?" And Raekwon was like, "Nah, I don't think so." And again, Brand New Heavies, dude. They had a song, a hit song on the radio, man, back in the 90s, early 90s, and the video and stuff. So in the hip hop world, they were kind of known because they were doing funk, like old school, like, funk, and playing the instruments like a band. And they were appealing to the hip hop crowd because they were playing this kind of like breakbeat kind of funk. And they had this one song where, this the singer, this female artist was singing, and it was kind of like an R&B song, kind of, but it had, you know, the brand new heavies playing that funk over her singing, kind of like this R&B joint, and that was popular, man. I remember they used to play that on MTV, dude. So the fact that he never heard of brand new heavies, I was also like, never heard of brand new heavies. And then Joe Rogan's like, yeah, they did this album where they invited these MCs to do rhymes over their music, and Cool G Rap has a track on there. Man, I forgot what the name of the track's called, dude. Death Trap or something. I can't remember, dude. My bad. But anyway, so there's a song, man, and then and Raekwon was like, "What? Nah, I never heard that before, man. G Rap, you know, that's my dude." And he's like, "Yeah, check it out." And so he plays it, and G Rap, you know, G Rap is one of the greats. Top 10. He's in there. Somehow he's in there, dude. Top 10. So anyway, dude, he's rapping, you know, Cool G Rap's rapping, and Raekwon, Joe Rogan are bobbing their head, and it's like, yo. And Raekwon is like, damn, I can't believe I haven't heard this. And I was like, yeah, I can't believe you haven't heard that. And I was just, you know. So after that, dude, and there was a couple of other things they talked about where Raekwon also didn't really know about it. And I was just like, well, dude, what's up with Raekwon not knowing about some of this stuff, you know? And I was thinking about it, and I've actually heard other MCs that really didn't know about certain tracks and certain songs that were, you know, pretty dope that they didn't really know about either. And I was just kind of like, so I've heard this before from other MCs that are dope. Big Daddy Kane, you know, think, I don't know, man. Just other MCs, dude. I've heard that they didn't know something, and I'm like, yeah, they never heard that track, dude. Damn, what's up with that? So anyway, man, to bring it back, so now Raekwon, you know, he's doing the same thing, not knowing about some of these like dope songs, right? And I was thinking to myself, you know what, man? I think it's not Raekwon's job to know about all those songs, dude. MCs back then that were going for theirs and that were making a name for themselves and becoming great, either on top or in the underground. You know, these MCs, you know, I kind of know it, man, because when you get into your music, you kind of close off a little bit. You kind of get into your own thing where you're just like, you're focused on your own music. And yeah, you got your ear open to things. And, you know, obviously there's people around you, you know, that hit you up, you know, and, you know, turn you on to things and all that stuff. And I remember back in the days when I really got immersed into my music, you know, I was putting out records and I was doing a lot of recording, and yeah, but I had like, there was a few cats that I had around me that if I was missing something, they would make sure I knew what it was, you know. And plus I always had, you know, a hand in DJing back then, all those years ago. I was always somehow DJing, you know, a party or on the radio or, you know, doing something at a show. So I was also buying a lot of records back then too. So in other words, these MCs that are dope, some of them, they're not like nerds. You know what I'm saying? I mean, dude, I'm a total nerd, you know, when it comes to this music. I mean, especially old school hip hop, dude. I mean, if I don't have it physically, I think I pretty much know about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I've always sought out to find the dope stuff. Because, you know, as a DJ buying records, of course, I wanted to buy as many records as I could. So when I was DJing at a party, I was able to play what I thought was the dope stuff. And plus that's how you build your personality as a DJ. Like if you want me to DJ your party, you know what you're going to get. You're not going to get like these other DJs. You know, the records I'm playing are, you know, they're a little more like this, you know. Doesn't mean, has nothing to do with about being better or anything. It's just different. You know, as a DJ, you want to distinguish yourself from the other DJs, you know, so you stand out, right? But not only that, just being honest, that's what I was into. I was always testing the audience, like, you know, I like this, you should like it too, and always trying to push it on them. Not always successful, but clever enough to have these reserve records handy to put in the mix on the quickness if it wasn't working out, just to save the party. But anyway, that's another video. So anyway, man, so I was thinking, you know what, man, I can't really like this. You can't put anything against Raekwon or any of these other MCs that don't know, which I think are obvious, dope classics. You can't get on them for not knowing about some of these things because, you know, they're not nerding out, you know, like some of us are. And yeah, as a DJ and just like even a producer, there's certain things, man, like making beats and DJing, like scratching and stuff. Those are some nerdy things, dude. I mean, because you really have to like put so much time into doing that, and you kind of isolate yourself when you do that, and you put all those hours in, and you know maybe you're not being as social as you don't have time to, and you're just kind of going deeper and deeper into this, you know, art form that you chose to pursue. And yeah, it could lead you down, you know, a rabbit hole, and just, you know, next thing you know, a whole year went by and you kind of missed that year, but not really though, because you were doing what you wanted to do. That's the way I see it. Anyway, but it's nerdy stuff, man. I mean, you know, and using this equipment to make beats and all this stuff and digging. I mean, it's just like you just got to put the time in, and you know, you got to nerd out, dude. You can't forget things. You know, maybe you make notes, or I don't know. It just gets really nerdy, man. And but being an MC, getting on the mic in front of people and rocking the party like that, not as nerdy, man. I think you need more charisma, dude. More like extrovert, you know. You got to be out there, you know, expressing, you know, where these other things, you could just, you know, you could stay in your room for weeks just practicing, or just digging for the right beat, or just experimenting with sound. And I mean, you could really get just lost, dude. Kind of like these dudes who are gaming. Kind of the same thing, dude. But anyway, man, so yeah, I just thought that was interesting, man, how, you know, uh you know, Raekwon is like, there's probably so many classics that guy has never heard, dude. But hey, all right, dude. He's classic himself, so he doesn't have to dig like that. You know, he's in the party, you know, behind, you know, the rope. You know, we're on the other side at the party, you know, observing. Anyway, dude. So yeah, it's a cool episode though. So if you haven't checked it, probably check it out, man. It's pretty dope. And yeah, dude, also too, it's just, dude, Joe Rogan is, dude, he's down by law, dude. That guy, he knows about hip hop, dude. He drops quotes and talks about songs that I'm like, dude, this dude, he knows some of his hip hop, man. Pretty impressive, dude. Anyway, man, that's that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like or subscribe if you want. If not, that's all good too. Until then, peace and vinyl.